My name is Jeremy Simonson. I'm a photographer from the Park Rapids area of Minnesota. I moved to the area in 2012, took a job with 3M. There was a resort where I was an event planner and coordinator for 13 years until they closed it. But this series started at that location when I would have breaks in the evening, or when we didn't have guests, I would take hikes on this beautiful 700 acres, and it's on Mantrap Lake. With that, I would then take photographs of this sort of mesmerizing evenings. And if you're on the lake, which I think we're all familiar with the lakes around here, in the evening you get that perfect calm, where you get this sort of glass on the lake, and the lighting is just amazing. And so this series actually started with a piece back on the wall over here called Cycles 1 and 2. It was a reflection. So the initial image is just a reflection of cattails in the water as the sun is setting, and you get a little glimpse of that sun. And what I ended up doing while I was in my sort of winter state, I like to play with my images, or I call through the images and start editing them and just playing with them, and I call it the flow state. You get these sort of meditative states of being. And I started reflecting the reflection on itself and just sort of double imposing the image. And just really liked what happened. It just adds these sort of lines and textures and makes the image a little bit more interesting and as a composition. Even though the photo was beautiful as it was, it just started, for me, it added a little bit more interest. And so then I had another image of that, and so then they became a pair, and it becomes a diptych. So it started me off on this whole journey with this sort of muse of water and its reflective nature, and how I get into this sort of meditative state when I go out photographing, and it's sort of that state of observing. You take these walks, and then you sort of see the light, and it's just the point of observation. So I wanted to kind of keep going with that, and so over the years, probably starting in 2015, water has become like sort of a massive subject in my work. Then when I submitted for the show, it kind of went a little wild. I knew I was going to be with a weaver, and so then that started playing with my brain, and so a lot of the vertical pieces you'll see are new, which are sort of reminiscent of weavings, and those are more, instead of an image reflecting upon itself, it then becomes four images that then play into sort of an abstract nature scape. And I guess I wrote it best in my statement when I say each piece in this series is thoughtfully composed to reflect my presence and connection to the landscape, blending reality with subtle artistic touch. The challenge I embrace is to preserve the water's inherent beauty while employing just enough manipulation and reorganization to reveal my artistic presence. And I think that sort of sums up this series. It's sort of, you know the artist was there, but it also is an appreciation of this water and landscape and its reflective nature, and how mesmerizing water can be. And it can be sort of in this, it can be transformative. And so these are sort of my winter meditations on that subject. I want to thank McCrusty for allowing me to put this show together. It's better out on walls rather than in my computer and small little prints that I sort of proofs that I do. So it's an honor to have been here. That's that. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy. And if you have questions after the fact, he'll be around to get into more detail for anybody who would like that. And then I will hand it over to Shannon Lucas Westrum.
Kind of feeling bad that I'm calling Jeremy now. Should have stood in front next time. Hi, I'm Shannon. I am a basket maker and weaver from Bemidji, born and raised. So I've been, what you're seeing around you in these baskets is part of a grant actually that I got from the Minnesota State Arts Board last year. And the whole premise of that grant was, one, I was teaching classes. I taught 6 classes, and then I also put together a show, and many of these pieces are from that grant, where my goal was to reflect kind of not specifically, but sort of the feeling you're getting from the woods and the water and life in my backyard, essentially. my favorite example is this piece here with the antler in the bottom of it. When I was working on this piece, it was fall, and this is literally the colors, the feeling you got looking out the window from my bedroom. Into the, just into the woods, just right as fall is starting to set and those colors are changing. And so I'm not going for anything very realistic, but more that feeling that you get when you're walking through the woods. When you're crossing a stream or finding a shed antler out on the beach or in the riverbed kind of a thing. And so, some of these pieces I think are, obviously whimsy with little mushrooms and little fungi and things like that. And a lot of them are just, the cool part is many of the pieces of driftwood, most of the antlers, those are all pieces that someone stopped by one day and said, here, we thought you might like this. And so my show is sort of built out of not just my environment, but also my community. And so, people call me and say, Shannon, I found some really interesting driftwood, I'm going on a trip or whatever, what do you want? And of course my answer is, if you find something interesting, that'd be great. Whatever is interesting to you will be interesting to do something with at some point. And so it's been a really fun challenge to think about different ways to reflect that environment and again, bring those people in. And so that's been really great. I think in this series, I taught a basket class that was similar to this, only we included daylily leaves in it. And we did teach one of those classes here, and then we took it kind of all over northern Minnesota. We went to Williams, and we went to Park Rapids, Grand Rapids, Williams, Bagley, Bemidji. I'm missing one. But anyway, you get the idea. So it's been really a fun way to kind of take weaving into community and community into weaving and doing those things together. So Jeremy and I actually met. He introduced himself to me in Park Rapids last January. I always get the months wrong. So it was fun to talk to him. He's like, he saw these leaves all going across a wall and said, I'm worried about how that's going to go. Maybe we need to warn them. So that some of your stuff is going to go on the walls, which was I noted and emailed Katie right away. But I just really love the way Jeremy's textures and colors are bringing out some of the shapes in the baskets, and you kind of get where my feeling is coming from there too. So thank you all so much for coming out to see it. If you want to talk details on anything, I am more than happy to do that. And thank you, McRosty, for having us.